All right, my name is Brandon Clayton, the Algebra Guy. Today will be discussing complex rational expressions. How do you simplify a complex rational expression? So here's an example of the type of problem we want to answer for today. So let's get to it. The one question we want to answer today is how do we handle a fraction that has an expression in the numerator and a denominator and or the denominator? So usually we're used to dealing with fractions that simply have a number or variables like 3 over 5. That's pretty simple. But what if there's something to simplify in the numerator itself or the denominator, as we've seen in our example problem? How do you work through those? And it's pretty simple. But I do want to go over a few examples with you so that you can feel confident when you approach these problems. All right, so here are the three steps. One, simplify the numerator and simplify the expression in the numerator, simplify the denominator, and then just simplify the fraction. So let's go and try that on for size. So what do you mean? So we have this piece here. Notice this is not just a simple fraction, but we have things to do in the numerator and the denominator. So I'm going to simplify the top first. Why? Because 4 plus 8 is pretty simple. That's just 12. 5 minus 3 is 2. And there I am, 12 over 2. Now I can do a little bit more work to this because 12 divided by 2 is 6. So that can be simplified and I'm done. No more work to do. If you don't know how to simplify this 12 over 2, you could have just broken it down into some factors that would allow you to see that 2 can be crossed out because you can take out that 2, leaving you with just a 6. So that's how you can handle that. Let's do another one. I want to encourage you, as I usually do, as I'm working these, please pause it before I work it and you attempt it. You'll build up your confidence. Your brain learns it faster and better that way. So I would encourage you to do so. So this one you should pause it and work it before I do. All right, so numerator. I'm going to do that part first. Well, PEMDAS tells me to do the multiplication here first before this minus. So I'm going to multiply 2 and 3, giving me 6. And I'm going to do my exponent, 2 squared, which is 4, plus 2. All right, so that leaves me what I see here, which is 4 minus 6. So I'm going to continue simplifying this. 4 minus 6 is a negative 2, because I got 4, and I take away 6, which is more than 4. And I got 4 plus 2, which is 6. And I can simplify or reduce this even further by realizing, first of all, let me put this negative sign so I don't forget, because negative 2 divided by that positive 6 will give me a negative. And I know this is going to be a negative 2. And on the bottom, I can divide that into a 2 and 3. Doing so allows me to see that this 2 will cross out, leaving me with simply a negative 1 over 3. That's how you can simplify that. Next problem is as follows. Again, please work this before I do. Simplifying the top, according to PEMDAS, if you remember us going over that in a previous lesson, the P represents parentheses or any type of grouping symbols we want to take care of first. So 8 minus 4 will be taken care of first, and that just leaves me with a 4. And all of that squared. And on the bottom, I'm going to do my exponents before I do the minus sign. So 8 squared is the same thing as 8 times 8. 64. 4 squared is the same thing as 16. And there it is. I'll continue simplifying this because 4 squared is 16 on the top. 64 minus 16 gives me 48. And I want to see if I can reduce this any further. So I'm going to break this down into some factors. Now, you could use the prime factors, which is going to take us all the way to 2. That'll be a lot of 2's here. I can see that there's at least a 4 here. So I'm going to start with that. Start with 4 times 4 to see if that'll get us started at least. Save us some space and some 2's. So 4 and 48 does have a 4 in it because you can divide it by 12. So 48 times 12. Instead of 12, I'm going to write it as 4 times 4 times 3. All right, let me review what I just did because we did this a previous lesson. 4 times 4 is 16 on the top. And down here, 4 times 12 is 48. 4 times 3 is 12, and times 4 is 48. So I can see from breaking it down a little bit that these 4's are going to cancel, these 4's are going to cancel, and I'm left again with 1/3. Now I could have broken it down into 16 and 16 times 3. That's why 4 and 4 on the top and 4 and 4 on bottom work, because those will cross out to 1/3. Or you could have broken it down to 2 times 2, that's one of the 4s, times 2 times 2, that's the other 4. And then 2, 4, there's 4 4s here, because it represents these 4s times your 3. Now, I really just want you to see that no matter how you do it, it's always going to cross out to be the same answer, 1/3, because all we have left is this 3, and we always have a 1 up top, because 2 divided by 2 gives us 1. No matter how you do it. Now, the safest way, I imagine, is to just break it all the way down to the primes. That way you don't miss anything. But you could also use any factors that you can see will work. All right, so here's the problem we started out with in our opener. How do you do this? So we're going to take our numerator. We're going to do the multiplication first. I see these are being multiplied, so I'm going to multiply 4 times 3 is -12, plus 6 times -2 is -12. Down here, I'm going to do my multiplication first as well, because -3 times 2 is -6 minus my 2. All right, so as you see, we're just simplifying the top and bottom. It looks crazy, but please keep in mind with math and pretty much almost any life, right? You can't tackle a problem all at the same time. You have to take the pieces of a problem, the pieces of an argument, break everything down into small components, because we can only work on one thing at a time. So we're not going to get exasperated when we see all this business going on. We're just going to take one little piece, 4 times -3. We can do that, 6 times -2, and so on. All right, -12 plus -12 is going to give me a -24. And if you want to go back and review adding integers, please do so. But when we have a negative, adding more negative, it's going to make it even more negative. So -2 minus 2 is going to give us a -8. Also keep in mind that negative divided by a negative gives us a positive number. 24 divided by 8 is going to equal 3. We'll end up with 3/1, which is the same thing as 3. Now, you could have gotten that again by factoring all the factors of 24 and 8 out and canceling on top and bottom, but you could have just realized that 24 and 8 yields a whole number of 3 as well. And there it is. That's what that does it. So how do we handle a fraction that has an expression in the numerator and the denominator? Well, it's simple. We just take care of the top, simplify the top, then simplify the bottom, and simplify the whole fraction when we're done, and we're done. That's it. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Name's Brandon Clayton again, the Algebra Guy, and I will see you next lesson.